Welcome to Let's Talk About It. Broadcasting live from North Nashville, Tennessee. North Nashville spans from Metro Center down to the border of Bicentennial Mall, including the neighborhoods of Bordeaux, Buena Vista, Parkwood Estates, Germantown, Haynes Manor, Jefferson Street, Fisk Park, Cumberland Gardens, Oak Valley, Enchanted Hill, and many others. It's perhaps best known for the 3 universities housed here, including Tennessee State University, Fisk University, and Meharry Medical College. North Nashville is also home to the Tennessee Titans practice facility. The Tennessee Titans will begin construction on an expansion project at St. Thomas Sports Park, which will almost double its current footprint in Nashville's Metro Center neighborhood. The plan includes 60,000 square feet in additions, including a new building situated along one of the practice fields, and major renovation of spaces within the existing 75,000 square foot building.
Now live from North Nashville, Dr. William Head. Let's talk about it.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Let's Talk About It. Why is it special? It's special because of the guest we have today, Dr. Kim Wyche Etheridge of Meharry Medical School, and it is pre-recorded. We recorded it Tuesday because of the doctor's availability. I want to say a somber set of very sincere sympathies to the family of Mr. Jacoby Jones. Mr. Jones, who played football at Lane College in Jackson, Tennessee, was an exceptional athlete and a great young man who you can remember in the Super Bowl that the Baltimore Ravens won, where he returned a kickoff 108 yards and caught a touchdown pass for which the quarterback got Most Valuable Player award for. We won't even talk about the justice of the situation. Is it great news that we now have a Democratic nominee for the office of President of the United States who is far younger and far wiser than the gentleman who's running on the other side? Got a little discussion for you, especially for you women who are catching hell trying to feed your children, trying to keep a roof over their heads, especially here in Nashville where the rent, they tell me that $1,700 is low rent for an apartment or a house, and I'm saying, who's got $1,700 to pay rent when you've got 2 or 3 kids that you're trying to feed and trying to pay for a vehicle to get back and forth to work? But think about this. Right now, you receive your welfare based upon your income level and your ability to pay. If the wrong candidate gets in office, you will start hearing a word called workfare. Several years ago, there was a movement afoot to make welfare a workfare situation where you worked and did some type of public service job as a driver of how much welfare you would receive. And in that situation, there is no specific amount that you will receive. You do know that the welfare programs are federally funded, but the states administer the distribution. So the states would then take over how much they would give you based on how many hours you work and other methods that would be put together by folks at the state level. Now, can you think of the state of Tennessee giving you a fair shake on what they pay you for working? What kind of public service job are you going to have? Cleaning toilets at the courthouse, cleaning toilets at the stadium, cleaning toilets at any of these public buildings? Is that what you want to do? You want to pick up paper all day and get less money for it? And remember, you're still trying to feed a youngster or two and keep a roof over your head. Now, with that said, if you want to be in the right position to take care of your obligations, when you drop your kids off at school, keep going out to Nashville Tech. Get you a job, not a job with someone else. Get you a future. Get you a AA degree in welding. Yeah, ladies can weld. Carpentry. Being an electrician. All these people are in great demand. And it doesn't have to be that you work in 50 hours a week. It can be that you work on your own schedule, but you have all of the background you need to be that person because you go to a place where your education is free. Think about that. You can get a free vocational education on the state of Tennessee. Go back to school. Go drop your children off at school and keep driving out to Nashville Tech. Dr. Jackson, who is the president of Nashville Tech, is a very astute and fair person. So you're not going to get cheated. Don't worry about that. Well, they're not going to give me my money. Knowing Dr. Jackson, you're going to get whatever it is you have coming to you. If you don't, you're going to be a subject of someone's ability to decide how much they want to pay you. Are you listening? So your ability to feed your children over the next 4 to 8 years is going to be based on the next administration that heads up this country. Now, is it going to be Kamala Harris and the Democrats, or you know who? I'm not telling you who to vote for. But the other side has already said that they are going to arrest anyone who opposes any ideas of the president. And the Supreme Court has made itself obsolete by saying that the president is above the law. So who do you trust with the law more? A lawyer who has an honest and long history of being a part of the law, or some guy who thinks he's got a lot of money and doesn't care who he runs over with his money? That's your choice. Are you going to choose democracy over a king, an emperor, a dictator? Is that what you want? Then woe be unto you. Because when you get to that point, you are now where someone puts a thumb on you and holds you down. And it's one person. Right now, you have the ability to decide who that person will be. If we go away from democracy, your vote now really doesn't count. Now, if you've ever voted, or if you've never voted, this election, more than any election in the last 200 years, is the most important one in this country's history. You really have a chance to make a difference by going to the poll and voting. And keep going to the poll and vote as often as they open them up. Just go and vote. Don't worry about whether it counts or not, because if it did not count, these folks wouldn't be paying millions upon millions of dollars to influence the vote. Think about it. With all these laws that the state of Tennessee tried to pass to slow down the voting process, to eliminate certain voters, would all of that be going on if the vote was not important? Now, is feeding your child important? Is keeping a roof over your head important? This election will do a lot to determine how difficult it is for you and your children to live. Better go vote.
Are you looking for a way to successfully advertise your business or ministry? Look no further than North Nashville's online TV station. Our platform gives you the opportunity to showcase your business or ministry to a wide range of viewers. With our advertising service, you get access to creative professionals who can help spread your message and reach potential customers in a cost-effective manner. We understand the importance of creating an impactful advertisement, and we are committed to helping you achieve your goals. Are you looking to watch some of your favorite family TV shows like The Dick Van Dyke?
The Dick Van Dyke Show. Starring Dick Van Dyke.
Lucy?
The Lucy Show.
The Cosby Show and more? Look no more. With our service, you can instantly access hundreds of classic family TV shows. Plus, you can watch them anytime and anywhere.
Today we have with us Dr. Kim Wyche Etheridge, the most celebrated lady I know. She's won every award in Nashville. So, as a doctor at Meharry Medical School, an instructor, a physician, a mother, a Christian, a strong leader. Doc, good day.
Good morning. I think you got a couple of my job titles there.
One more or less not gonna ruin the soup. Okay. Tell folks, I was a little bit facetious in my introduction, but tell folks all the running that you do around the world. Don't tell them anything that you don't want them to know, though.
Well, my work, most of my work is going to be local, but I am a public health physician, which means that I cannot be satisfied working with or trying to take care of one patient at a time. It has to be done at the community and population level. So that gives me the opportunity to do some of the work that I do around health equity in other parts of the U.S. that are not connected to the continent. So that means that I've had the opportunity to do health equity training in our Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands, in St. Croix, and had the opportunity to do health equity training in Mariana Islands, and we'll be heading out to American Samoa and the Marshall Islands in September to again do some health equity training.
Now, all you folks that know where these places are know they're good little ways from the shores of the U.S.
Yes. And if you don't know how or what their relationship is with the mainland, then you don't know your history. And you need to learn that. Learn why there are health disparities in republics and islands, and where the U.S. was testing nuclear weapons and relocating populations. And we'll leave it at that. Know your history and understand that now to go back and try to undo some of the wrongs that have been done requires a different approach than what we might see on the mainland.
Well, the U.S. has territories, protectorates, other aptly named
Freely associated states, territories.
right. So we look at what you do as an extension of the, I guess, agreements that the United States had with these islands for them to be owned, quotations, owned by the U.S. As you travel and find these disparities in healthcare, not to mention healthcare disparities on the mainland, what do you find is the most significant reason, if you will, for people not receiving the care that they need?
Well, one is access. In part of the freely associated states or so where there are smaller islands that really just don't have access to care in that sense. And of course, access to care is a major issue. A lot of the determinants of health that we see are not different than what we see on the mainland. However, what's different is the history that got us to where we are now. So in the U.S., we focus a lot on the legacy of being enslaved people and the generations of asset deprivation, we'll say, and adoption of survival habits that have not necessarily been healthy, and the long-term effects of those being passed on, along with the continued bereavement of inequities, biases, racism, etc. When you're looking in the Caribbean and even in the Pacific Islands, sometimes the issue of race and racism may not be the top of the ticket. It may be more placism, environmental justice, issues having to do with, we say your zip code shouldn't determine your health here. Similar there, your island home shouldn't determine your health. Just because you were born on X island doesn't mean that you shouldn't have the access to care, that you should be exposed to environmental toxins, cancer-causing toxins or potentially causing toxins, that you should have less access to medications, etc. So those kind of things are similar in the sense of what the outcomes are, but the history is the important part to understand that how we got to that part. And it's important not to try to approach different areas in the same way.
In most of these places, there are some U.S. military installations that occurred during World War II in the Pacific Islands specifically. Does that not provide some level of access to the civilian population?
It depends. It depends on the relationship between those individuals and the base. Are they working on the base? Are they connected to the base? Are they military? Or are they just coexisting? Because it does not offer access to everybody.
Okay, well, if you've got all of this shall we say, technology sitting over here by itself and all these people suffering, does it not say, well, maybe we need to step outside and assist these people, because if they get sick, we get sick?
The moving technology and access through the internet, through electronic medical encounters, is a way that we can start decreasing some of the disparities. But again, you're going from the place of, I'm going to say it, of mainland privilege to assume that there's internet.
No.
Well, that there are computers, that there's, when the storm comes, does the internet go down? What internet is it? So there are a lot of issues, and one of the biggest, I'd say, concerns when we do health equity work is looking through a mainland U.S. lens at other cultures.
Thinking, well, they should have.
Or like, we can just do it this way.
Yeah.
No, we can't, because it didn't get to this point the same way. It doesn't have the same history. It doesn't have the same background that got to this place. So working internationally is very similar to working in the community, because if you are not of the community, you can't assume to understand the community.
Exactly.
And much to the chagrin of many, just because you may have a similar level of melanin does not mean you're part of the community.
True.
So being part of the community is an earned trust, not a privilege of race. So when we come and do work in infant mortality or teen pregnancy prevention or maternal mortality, understanding that the community that is suffering from the issues that we're addressing usually has the answers, knows what needs to be done. But the way that we approach it is that, especially in public health is guilty, that we don't bother to ask them, because as the proclaimed or crowned experts in an area, we'll assume that we know better. And then get upset.
You know what assumed is, right?
Get upset when that doesn't work. And that's part of the reason that we've seen there are a lot of we'll call them, grandma's remedies and things like that worked for many years, some that were brought from Africa, brought from other countries, that were used to heal, but it was not part of the traditional medicine. And so what's a nice way of saying that? It kind of got poo-pooed or so. And we lost a lot of that.
We were immediately labeled witch doctors rather than doctors.
Exactly.
When we were doing the same thing. When you go to these conferences and all these people have all these grandiose and wonderful ideas, but have, like you said, absolutely no knowledge of the customs, the makeup of the population, or we, talking about people of African ancestry, were introduced in the Caribbean for the same reason we were introduced into this country. But it's a totally different reality in the Caribbean than it is here. And when you go into a place and they've already been dealt with by these folks who are experts, what are some of the things that you run into in getting people to understand that what they said was okay, but didn't address your needs?
Well, and I do this with my medical students, when you address issues on the superficial level, your blood pressure is high, your glucose is high, you're overweight, and you give the easy fix: eat more fruits and vegetables, decrease your carbohydrates, stop eating so much salt. And you've done what you've been trained to do as a physician. And then when that doesn't work, you start adding medications to try to get that person to the healthy state. When you practice medicine and public health and understand the larger picture, then it's looking beyond and asking the question why or how. So if I say to you, Mr. Head, stop eating so much salt, how realistic is that? Okay. Is it that your lifestyle is one of canned foods because canned foods are more accessible and cheaper and last longer? And I may not have access to refrigeration or refrigerated at work, so I have to eat things that will be shelf ready. All of those things are preserved with salt. So you're automatically going to get more salt. If I say eat more fruits and vegetables, but fruits and vegetables are only available at the supermarket and you don't live near a market, or if they're in the smaller stores, they're old or they're expensive. Or if I can feed a family of 5 with a couple of Happy Meals or a family pack from a fast food restaurant, opposed to spending twice as much trying to cook a meal, then most likely I'm going to go for the fast food, which is not as healthy, but will fill you up. And when your primary concern is lights on, stomach's full, then having that stomach full is going to be the key. And whether it's healthy or unhealthy, as much as I would like to focus on that, cannot always be my primary priority.
One of the things we saw at the Juneteenth celebration we had in this same area, there was a lady who had a blood pressure of 200 over death. And
Walking stroke.
Pardon?
Said a walking stroke.
I mean, yes. And she, in this city, with all of the medical facilities, all of the great medical professionals like yourself, can't get to a drugstore to get her prescription filled. And if we don't know about her situation, or we don't care about the situation, she's been to the doctor, she's gotten a prescription, but she can't get to the drugstore. Makes no sense from the standpoint that she's sitting in an area where there are drugstores north, south, east, and west of her, and can't get there. The large drugstores have put the small corner drugstores out of business, which means just like everything else, it's out on the perimeter of the city. How, as a public health person, how can we approach a remedy for a drugstore desert, like we talk about the food deserts that we have, where people are 5 miles from any fresh produce? How do we remedy the same issue with being able to get a prescription filled? I was told that General Hospital has a traveling pharmacy, and that knocked my eyes out, because I said, wow, they're going to that extent to try to get people. But how do we get that done in a more efficient way?
One thing first is knowing that there's an issue. And often, as patients, we may be too proud to admit that there are problems getting medication. People that will split their medication because they're not want to admit that they're out of medication, or admit that they're sharing medication with somebody else, or couldn't afford that medication. But technology has, done great things. It's just getting resources in the hands of the people that need them. So now there are health plans that you can, it's mail order prescriptions. So now your prescription comes directly to your house, and that saves some of the issues of trying to get to the drugstore. Same thing with, there are opportunities if membership allows, that you can get food delivered. So now you have access to the fruits and vegetables that are not in your neighborhood. So there are ways, but connecting people to the resources that they need is a bigger problem or a bigger issue, because that really is where the community comes in. That's not all the responsibility of the medical field. We can't do all of that. But there has to be more concern for thy neighbor. That would be that, hey, your medicine came in the mailbox. I'm knocking on your door so you get it so nobody takes it. Or I'm going to the grocery store. Does anybody else on the street need anything? Anyone need a ride? We used to be a lot more congenial with our communities, and health was more of a community issue. If there was someone that you knew, you make you sound old, back in the day, if you knew there was a family that was struggling, then, amazingly, a casserole showed up on the porch, or a loaf of bread, or something where people were able to take care of themselves. There was and I think it was probably on, something on the internet, there was a, you get stuck in these little clips, but a woman that was counting change on the hood of her car, at a gas station, trying to pull together enough money to get a couple of gallons of gas or so. And while she was doing that, there was a woman that was on the other side, and she saw her, and when she wasn't looking, she took the gas after she had filled her tank and put it in the woman's gas tank and filled her tank.
While she was struggling counting
While she was
change.
counting money, and I guess she had put in so much money so that it was going to stop whenever, and she drove off. She didn't do it because she needed the praise or anything else like that. She saw a neighbor struggling, and she helped them. And seeing the reaction of the woman when she realized that that's what happened was amazing. The first thing she did was she sat in her car and she prayed, and she thanked God for someone that would help her. We don't do enough of that. We tend to be so concerned about ourselves, our own preservation, that we don't consider the collective. So part of public health is that public part. And how do we create resources and programs so people can help themselves but help each other also. Maternal health, pregnancy is a village thing. It always has been a village thing. U.S. is the only place where you're pregnant alone. Every other country, pregnancy is a community issue. It is not a illness or a disease. It is a condition, and a condition that's usually healthy, but something that is celebrated. And there are people that help to take care of their countries, that if you're pregnant and you're found to be underweight, you're put in a pregnancy hotel or a pregnancy home and fed 3 meals a day until your weight gets up. Or if you're stressed out, someplace that you can relax. So there are different approaches, but we just have to be willing to think outside the box and do health a little bit differently.
One help one.
One help one.
If you see somebody in stress.
If you see something, do something.
I know your time with us is shout, not short, but shout. In this city, I find that there are a lot of help agencies, folks who do this, who do that, who do the other, and some of them overlap. And if they cooperated and knew more about one another, then a lot of resource would be better used. Have you discovered anything like that?
Oh, totally. And that has a lot to do with the way that we force our community organizations to compete for money. And part of that competition is, gets into the mine, not yours.
Say it.
And so when it's mine, not yours, then I am going to do what I need to do for my organization.
I'm going to do mine, the heck with yours.
And if yours folds, then yours folds, and that just gives me more business. So having that kind of mentality where, 1 minus 1 is 0 versus 1 times 1 is 15. that's
It's
urban math,
exponential. It becomes an
exponential.
exponent rather than
A
a
simple
factor.
equation. And that's how we need to do things differently.
When and I wanted to talk more about this. Tell us about your healthy babies and moms.
So we do a lot of work around making sure that we no longer lose classes of kindergarten children to infant mortality, which is the death of an infant before they reach their first birthday. And what we have learned over the years, I've been doing infant mortality work for over 20 years, is that primarily making sure that women and families are healthy prior to pregnancy is important. And with that, also giving people, families, the opportunity to plan their pregnancies, meaning to be pregnant when they are ready, financially, emotionally, physically, for that. Making sure that they've had time to control their diabetes, their high blood pressure, their obesity, their stress, their mental health, whatever other issues. Take care of self first. You have to have a healthy vessel before you can have a healthy infant. But also understanding the external pressures that are on families and women, on infants, that are primarily based on treatment. So we get back into issues of perceived biases in our institutions, interpersonal racism, and how patients are treated or not treated, not listened to. The biggest thing with Black women is not being heard. When something doesn't feel right, something is not quite the way it should be, and being blown off and not, yeah, exactly, you're okay, that's normal. That's what you should expect with
that
pregnancy.
just happens. Well, if it does, it certainly hurts a lot.
Exactly, or, then you say that and then tomorrow you're not here. And, you've heard stories from, Serena Williams, from Beyonce, to people who are famous and have access to everything in the world that still are poo-pooed when they have issues, medical issues. So when you don't have that power, when you don't have that influence, then who is there to speak for you, to speak with you, to walk with you? And making sure that, again, it gets back into community, having access to a pregnancy partner, whether or not that is a doula, whether or not that's a community health worker, whether or not that's a sister friend, is important for the women. And for the infants, again, if mom is healthy, baby is more likely to be healthy. But we have to make sure as a community and a society that we value all of our babies the same, regardless of the color, the ethnicity, their zip code, where their parents were born, where they may have migrated from. It doesn't matter. Every baby deserves to have that chance and that community rallying around them to make sure they make it to kindergarten and beyond.
Zip code politics is particularly angering for me.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
You don't provide this in this particular zip code. How in the do you live with yourself when you withhold something from someone who needs it, especially when you have resource? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not like you're doling out a fish and a piece of bread. You ain't Jesus. Mm-hmm. So if you've got plenty of resource, why does it hurt you so bad to say, well, these people over here in this zip code need the same thing we need? Well, let's see if we can do something with someone and cooperate and get it done. The day we had on Juneteenth, all these folks show up who do things. So
they were doing things.
Huh?
They were doing things
at the same time, at the same place. Mm-hmm. That was completely accessible. And we did not get a great response from the community. We got some, but I will chalk that up to our not the short term from when we started till we had to put it together.
And it was hot.
And the next one, if anybody's listening, is June 21st, 2025. So put that on your schedule now, so we don't have to wait, don't have to worry about you being there. And that puts you, gets way out in front with you. You have a service for youngsters coming up, physicals for.
We actually did that last weekend. We did sports physicals for the community with the understanding that childhood obesity is a major issue. And keeping children involved in extracurricular activities, whether or not that's a sport, whether or not that is band, whether or not there's cheerleading or majoretting or anything like that, increases their opportunity to be healthy. And affording a school physical, or rather a sports physical, is not something that should keep you from participating. So we went out into the community, offered sports physicals for kids at literally half or a third of the price of what they're offering in some other places to give kids that opportunity. Now this coming week, or this week that we're in now, is back to school time. So if you are a Meharry patient, pediatric patient, or want to switch to be a Meharry patient,
Absolutely.
as you should, then it's school physical week. And we're doing all kinds of incentives to make sure our kids are healthy when they start school. And yes, and that means that they are up to date with all of their blood work if they need it, and their vaccines. We have several states that are having outbreaks of measles right now. Why? Because kids aren't vaccinated. And measles can kill you. I mean, it's just as simple as that.
We've been without measles for 100 years. Now we're there. It's coming back because people all of a sudden don't want to get
their childhood vaccines, and so that's a whole nother show. But the offering school physicals this week for kids. So if you don't have a school physical, especially for 7th grade, because there are requirements for 7th grade and requirements for kindergarten, and of course requirements for all of our high school seniors that we're proud of that are going off to college, then Meharry. We'll see them this week. We're got extra hours. I think I'll be there till 7 o'clock on Thursday night doing physicals and just making sure that we are responsive to the needs of the community.
What's the cost associated with that?
Well, there's no cost for an annual physical with your insurance. If you're uninsured, then I don't want to quote the exact price, but there is also the Salt Wagon Clinic that is at Meharry, which meets Thursday evenings, which is specifically for our communities that are uninsured or underinsured. And the cost for the Salt Wagon Clinic is free.
The work that you do and the School of Public Health at Meharry has become bigger since COVID. Mm-hmm. You guys did such a wonderful job with doing testing down on Charlotte and what was that? 28?
Murfreesboro and that. It was hot. With all of that, gowns, and it was hot. But, we did what needed to be done, with that. But, so the attention and the accolades are only worth it if it results in more people getting care. And understanding the importance of that care and being willing to trust the medical system. I had the opportunity to be in Europe for part of the summer. Literally everybody that I've spoken to that has traveled this summer has come back with COVID. Mm. So this kind of perception that COVID is gone, that it's no longer dangerous, is very concerning. Because of course, next week starts one of the biggest international super spreader events called the Olympics.
Olympics, yes.
That we've seen in a while. So with thousands, hundreds of thousands of people traveling and sharing their infectious natures and then bringing it back home, it's going to be an interesting fall. So I'm an advocate. Get your flu shot, get your COVID vaccine if you haven't, get your booster, because the prediction is that it may be a bad fall going into the winter. And there's no reason to still see any of the numbers that we saw in 2020 and 21.
All you folks that had your babies at home 7 days a week during the last COVID infection, you need to take care of getting your shots so that you don't have to go through that again. Babies will be at home again. They'll close school, and we'll all be confused as to what time class is.
I don't think they'll close school again. I don't even think we're going to be able to get people to wear a mask, but do it for yourself. You do not protect yourself because it's a mandate. Protect yourself because you love yourself enough to be healthy, and that's not political.
If I go to an event that has more than a few people, I've started wearing my mask again. I went to a funeral yesterday. I was the only person in the room with a mask on. But of course, my wife had a little spat with the COVID rascal. So that was the reason I was wearing it, because I did not want to issue it to anyone else. Again, public health suffered tremendously with the administration, the federal administration before the one we have now, because of indifference to what needed to be done to bring it under control. I hope that the next administration does not have that same level of disinterest and lack of fortitude to say this is what we've got to do.
I hope the community will listen or will take heed. I'll leave it at that.
Well, since we lost 1 million people when we decided we didn't want to wear masks and when we didn't want to get vaccinated, then do that again. History will repeat itself.
And it's not a question of if, it's just when.
Just when.
It's just when.
My dear. Oh, wait a minute. Last words. Got one
Lord, no.
one sentence or group of sentences you'd like to say that cap what you've said?
Look out for your neighbor. We can be healthier together than individually, but it requires that we get back to the basics of caring for each other and caring about each other, and looking and seeing our neighbors in need and being willing to offer that assistance. And if we do that, then that's probably a quarter of public health right there.
The measure of man's humanity was when he started to care about his neighbor.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
When we started to care what happened to the other guy. We need to get back to that.
Yep, there was a fossil that was found that showed the beginning of what we consider to be some of the humanity. It was a skeleton of someone that had a healed broken bone, which meant that for 6 or 8 weeks, somebody carried that person or arranged for that person to be transported with the tribe instead of leaving them to be lunch meat. And that was a big step to say that I care enough about my neighbor to make sure that I bring them with us, bring them forward.
Thank you, Doc. And
you're welcome.
We will get you hooked up with everything we do.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you very much. We've been talking to Dr. Kim White Etheridge.
Just Dr. Kim is much easier.
Dr. Kim. Have a great day, everybody.